Hi, and welcome to token-based authentication using Web API and Ionic 3 framework tutorial number 2 or part 2. So in the first part I showed you how to create the ASP.NET Web API project that will handle the token generation, etc. In this second part and the final part, I'm gonna show you how to create the Ionic 3 project. That means the mobile application that will do the authentication thing and will use the token generated by the backend project, which is the ASP.NET Web API project, to do the authentication. So the first thing we need to do is to create an Ionic project. So here, choose a folder of your choice, your workspace, open command prompt and navigate to that specific location. And there you have to create, to open command prompt and create your new project. So type Ionic start, choose a name for your project. So I'm gonna call it token project, and I will choose the blank project template and hit enter. Make sure that you are connected to internet, of course, so you can download the project and hit enter. So here type no, and you will have to wait for a while if your internet connection is slow as mine. So I will cut the video here until the project downloading is finished. So see you later. After that, after downloading the project, so here it says that install the free Ionic Pro, so say no. And now our project has been downloaded successfully. So if you navigate to the project directory, you will find your Ionic project. So we need to edit this project and open it inside a text editor. So I am using Visual Studio Code. So for the one that are using Visual Studio Code, you can open your project from the command prompt. So the first thing you need to do is to navigate to the project directory. So cd and then the name of your project directory. Then you have to type code space dot and hit enter, and your project will be opened inside the Visual Studio Code. So this is our project. So to navigate to the source file, open the src directory. So here we will be working most of the time inside the pages folder. So here I am going now to create two components, two folders. Sorry, the first folder will be a new folder. So the new folder will be login. And the second one will be new folder. I'm gonna call it, for example, second page. I'm gonna call it just welcome. I'm gonna call it welcome. Okay, so the login folder and the welcome folder will contain our components, our pages, if you can say so. So we are going to create new components. So for those who doesn't know what is a component, so this tutorial is not about learning Ionic, so it is about doing token-based authentication with those two technologies, Web API and Ionic. So you must check some Angular 2+ tutorial to learn what is a component and how to create Angular project and learn stuff about Angular. So now we are going to create two components, the login component and the welcome component. So let's start by the login component. So inside the login folder, right click. So here I'm going to create a new file. So new file, I'm gonna call it, so the new file, the first file will be our login.ts. So we are going to use TypeScript. So this is our component, so login.ts. we are going to create a new TS file. So new file, login service.ts, and finally we are going to add the third file, which is our view or our page, whatever you can name it. So new file, I'm gonna call it login.html. So we have three files. We have the component file, we have the login service that will contain the logic of doing the authentication thing, and we have the file, the HTML file. This file will contain the view or the page that contain the authentication form. So let's go ahead and start by the but let me first go to the, we have to add our component. But let me just first create the code of the HTML page and the login component and the service. Then I'm gonna add the component to the app module file. So let's go ahead and open our HTML file. Okay, so we are going now to create our login page. So Ion header, and inside this one we're going to create a nav bar, then Ion content, so I will assume that you already have some knowledge about Ionic 3 framework and Angular and how to create those tag elements and etc., because I will not be explaining those Ionic tags etc. So inside this Ion content we are going to create a new div. We have this form. Now we're going to create an Ion item. Inside this Ion item I am going to create an input. So the first one is for the username, because the user, when he will try to log in, will enter his username and password as we specified inside our web API application. So Ion input, so here okay, so here I'm going to use and we'll add a place holder, your name goes here, and finally we'll add the name for this tag, so it will be username, and I will use this required because the username is required. So I have to close this. ion item, ion input. So I will do the same thing for the second tag. So I'm going to copy and paste the whole item here. So copy and so here I'm going to change it to password. Your password goes here, and the name is password, and this is required too. And finally I'm going to add a button that will submit the form. So after this second ion atom, so add a button, and here we are going to add a click event. So this is an event binding, if you know what I mean. So so click, and here we are going to create a method inside our component called log user. This method will use the service that we are going to create a bit later, which is called login service. So this is the log user method, and don't forget to add the ion button and and we need to add some text to this button. So authentication or authenticate, or I don't know, authentication. Let's just stick with authentication. And I think that's all for the login.html file. So this is the first page that will appear when we launch our application. So now let's jump to the login service. So now we are going to create the service of the login component. So let's go to the login service.ts file, and here we are going to create a new class. So export class login service. So here we have to add the injectable. So I have to add the parentheses. Okay, so here we have to make some imports. We are going to use some modules. So the first thing we are going to import is HTTP client. So I think it will not recognize it here because we did not add it to the app module folder file, so we will add it later. So HTTP client, we are going to need, I think, HTTP response or request, I don't know. So HTTP response, HTTP request from I think at Angular /HTTP, but it will not recognize it. So to fix this problem, you have to so the problem is that's the first problem. So we have to import those three modules. We have to import, to use observables, we have to import RxJS and import observables. That is observable from xjs/observable. So I think those are the necessary modules that we are going to need inside our service. Okay, so now I will start by defining a property inside my module. So the first property will be base URL. So the base URL is a segment of our of our HTTP that our application will be requesting. So it will be a HTTP localhost, the port number / token. So the base URL will be HTTP / localhost, and the port number, if I remember from the first part, will be 25753, I think. And don't forget to add a slash. I forgot to add the specify the type and semicolon. Then we are going to create the constructor of this class. So inside this constructor, we are going to need some create some variables. So the first one is HTTP client of type HTTP client. Okay, so this is we injected that dependency there. So you have to add this closing curly braces. Okay, so now we're going to create our login method that will be called inside our component. Okay, this method will take we'll need some parameters. So the first parameter is the username, of course, which is of type string. The password, which is of type string 2. What else? We have the grant type, which is of type string 2. Okay, so now we are going to write the logic of this method. So return this dot HTTP client dot post. Okay, so we are going to use our property this dot base URL plus we are going to concatenate some parameters now. Okay, so here we have the token. So this is I showed you in the last tutorial that this base URL is the same as that, so HTTP and /token, so it is the same thing here. Okay, so token, then username equal plus username plus here, and then we have password, which is equal to concatenated with the password and another concatenation. We have the final parameter, which is the grant type, equal to concatenated with the grant type variable there, and then you're going to use the observable. So map response and then you're going to catch if there is any error. So catch this dot handle error. So this is a method that we are going to create now. So this okay, so private handle error. So this method will have a pass parameter the of type HTTP response of type any, So here we're going to console. We are going to log to our any error to the console. Here error, and we return observable dot throw dot body server error here. This is the message. So I think this is all the needed code inside our service. I hope that I did not make any error. So we will see. We will check that later when we are going to test our application. So this is the code of the service. Okay. So now we are going to create the login model. The login model and not module but model. So here new file. So here I'm going to create login model.ts file. So this class will be the login module that will contain the username and the password and the grant type. So export class login model. So I think it's username, I think it's in uppercase, I think it's U is in lowercase, so username of type string. We have the I made a mistake, so here we have password of type string, and we have the grant type that will be initialized to password. So if you remember the grant type here, if you take a look at the postman, so the grant type will contain the password string. Okay, we will add the constructor, and that's all. Then later we will import this class here inside our component that we are going to create, and then we will need another model, which is the token model. So here new file, gonna call it token model.ts. So export class token model. This one will contain three properties. So the first one is the access token. So this is, as I showed you before here, I think when you send the request, a request with valid credential, the server will respond with the token. This JSON object contains three properties. The first one is the access token, which is the token that we need to use to connect to interact with the server, and other properties such as the token type, which is of type bearer, and the expire in, which is the period in which the token will be valid. So we are going to create those three properties: token type and expires in. So I have token type string, and it's token, not toke. Expires in, I think it will be of type string or number. We will check that later. And don't forget to add the constructor. And we are finished with those two models. So let's go to our component. So where is our component? Login.ts. So here we're going to export new class. So we're going to create export class login component. So use this component. First need to specify a selector for our component, so it will be I think I'm gonna just call it auth page, then the template URL, which will be they are already in the same folder, so I'm just going to write the name of the login.html because they are already in the same folder, so there is no path. Okay, and providers, here we are going to call we are going to write the name of our service, this one, and we need to import it before after that. So here I'm going to type import, I'm going to paste the name from I think I will do like that, so login/login service, and add the semicolon, and like that we imported our service inside our component. So this is how you use your service inside your component. After that we are going to add some properties to our component class. The first one is token of type token model. So I'm going to import those models that I have created. So the first one, which is import login model from login, so login model, and the second one, which is the token model from login token model and semicolon. So here now I'm going to I can use it. So token model, the second one will be the login model of type login model, and we are going to use a toast. So here I have to import something, so import, I think it's toast controller, I think so. From, I don't know from where to import it, so I will guess. So I think it's Ionic Angular, I think. Yes, it is Ionic Angular namespace, and we have to import import some nav controller that will allow us to navigate between our views. So from, I think it's Ionic Angular 2, and I think that's all for the imports. So now we are going to what's the problem here? So login model, I forgot the, it's like that. I'm going to another property, which is options toast. So this in this property will contain the options of our toast, the duration and the text, etc. that will show. Okay, so now we are going to create the component constructor of our component. So constructor, so we have private nav c3l of type nav controller, then we have private service, which is of type login service, and we have the last one, which is private toast, which is of type toast controller. Okay, so this is our constructor. Here we are going to initialize and specify the toast, the options of our toast. So this dot toast options, it's equal, open curly braces, message is equal, I think it's equal or 2 point. I think it's 2 point. So if the text that will be contained inside our toast will be, please verify your credentials. So when the user enters invalid credentials, so this toast will be displayed, and will notify the user that he entered invalid credentials. So this is the first option for our toast, and the second one, which is the duration. So the duration will be of 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds, and that's all for the toast option. Now we are going to create the log user method that we specified here. Where is the... So let's go back to our component, which is the component class, the login.ts. So here I'm going to create this method, log user. Okay, so let's start. So the log user, so this service, we are using the login method of our service here. So we are using the service, the login service, and we are calling the login method of our login service. So here we are going to pass this dot login module dot username. I think, what is the error here? So this dot login so then we have this dot login module dot password. Finally this dot login module dot grant type, and then we'll subscribe. So token these token receive. So here I have to change this one. I have to change this t to lowercase receive token, and then comma, and this dot on login successful. So we are going to create this method in a while. So if the login is successful, we are going to pass the token that we received from the server and log it to our console. So this dot token, and we are going to access the property of access token of the JSON object that we receive. And then here I think I have to add a colon, then here that, and these dot toast dot create. So if the login is not successful, we will create the toast. So create dot present semicolon here, now I'm going to create this method here. Okay, so this method takes the, as you can see here, it takes the token. So here, I'll take the token, it will be a string. So this dot nav controller dot push. So if the credentials are valid, so we will the user will be redirected to the second page, will be which is the welcome page. If the login, the credentials are invalid, so the toast will appear and notify the user that he entered invalid credentials. So that push. So here I'm going to put the welcome page, which is the name of our second component that we will create a little bit later. So welcome page. So here I have to remove this one. So then and oh, okay, so this dot nav control. So here I am what I'm doing is I am removing, so I'm gonna show you the necessity of this code a little bit later after running our application. So when you create a new Ionic project, and you, for example, when you specify that you have two, for example, pages, and when you navigate from page 1 to page 2, you will have the arrow that will take you back to the previous page. In our case, we do not need that arrow that will take us to the previous page, because after authentication, if the user can click on that arrow, that he will go back to the authentication page. So we don't need that arrow when the user logs in to the application. If he want to go back to the authentication page, he must use the logout, for example, button to log out from the application and go back to the authentication page. So we have to remove that back button, and this is what I am doing right now. So that remove 0 this dot nav, it's nav controller dot get active dot index. Okay, so here I'm going to correct this line here, index, and add the parentheses, and add another parenthesis, and after that we are going to console dot log. So here I am logging the token to the console, so we can see it. Okay, I think that's all for this for the component logic. So now I'm going to create the another component, which is the component that will contain the logic of the second page, which is the page to which the user will be redirected if he log in successfully. So welcome page. So let's go to the welcome folder. So it will be very quick. So new file, I'm gonna call it welcome.html. I'm gonna delete it. I don't know why he did not recognize it. So I'm gonna new file. So welcome.ts. So this is our component class, and new file welcome.html. We will need only those files. So here I'm going to just put h1 welcome page, that's all. And here I'm going to create export class welcome export class, welcome component, add component. So here like that. So the selector. So app welcome, template URL will be welcome.html, and I think that's all for this page. We do not need anything else, so just add the constructor here. I think that's all for this page. I don't need anything else because it will be a single page, single view. So now all I need to do is to specify the name here, and don't forget to import it. So import the name of the component class and from, and here just 2 points, welcome and welcome. So welcome, the first thing is this the name of the folder, and this one is the name of the class. I think it's of the file. Sorry, this is for this file, the welcome.ts. So I think that's all. Now let's go to the app module.ts, and here we need to import our components. So import. So I'm going to import the welcome component from pages welcome, and we need to import the login component too. So login.ts, login component. This one, and it is the same thing. So pages login. I think it's this one, and then we have to add those components to our declaration array. So that's login component. So what's happening here? So it says that welcome component, it's it must be login component, so I made a mistake. So and here we have to paste it, and I think we need to put them there too. I think we need to put them here, and we need to import HTTP client from Angular command/HTTP. I think that's all for the imports. So let me check. I think here must be module, HTTP client module, not HTTP client. And I think that's all for this for the application, for the mobile application. So I'm now so I don't know what is the problem here, but I'm going to open the terminal, and I'm going to build the application and see if we have any errors. So first of all, I'm going to save all, and here I'm going to Ionic build. I think we have some missing imports, so let's build the application and wait. So it will take a while if your PC is a little bit slow like mine. Let's just wait for it. So there is a mistake here. and inside our welcome component we need to remove those lines. It's only Angular / core, so it's the auto completion fault. So here I have to save again. The next thing we need to do is to add this HTTP client module. We have to add it to the import array. Okay, so make sure to import the component attribute there from the Angular core, and add the HTTP client module to the imports array. Our components welcome and login, add them to the declaration array. Okay, so now I'm going to run the application. So let's Control C, yes, and I'm going to Ionic serve. So here I am launching our application. So let's wait for the application to be started. I think we will have some errors. I hope not. So there is an error, so cannot find module Angular core src meta. So it's the same error. So let's go here and stop the application with by pressing Control C and yes. So let's go to the login service. So it's the same error, so we have to change this to Angular core, and let's do Ionic build. So our application was built successfully. Now let's see if it will work. So Ionic serve. So this is our application, but I don't know why the so if you change to this, and let's go to this view and let's put this aside. So this is our application. This is the default page, which is set as welcome page, so we have to change the default root page. So let's go to our application here, and our root component must be the login component. So I think we must go to main.ts. Let's see how to change it. Okay, so go to the app folder and open app.component.ts, and then in the line 11 here, root page. So it is set to home page, which is the default component that comes with the project template. So delete this line and replace it with login component, which is our login component. So make sure to import it. So from pages login, and this is our. So I think that this one will fix the problem. So now let's stop our application, yes, and Ionic, let's build it again. So build. Okay, so our application has been built successfully. So Ionic serve to start the application. Ionic serve. Now I think we must get our login page with the with the form in it. So let's see and check the results. So let's delete the close. So this is our authentication page. Let's just switch to the mobile thing. So this is our authentication. So I mean, I'm not concentrating on the design because this tutorial is not about making GUIs. So it's just about showing you how to do token based authentication. So now we will have to type our username and password here. So if the username and the password are correct, we will get the token here, and if they are not correct, we will have the toast that will notify us that our credentials are invalid. So the first thing we need to do is to start our backend application, which is the Web API project that will generate our token and handle the authentication process. So let's just run on it on the server and wait for it to be launched, and then we are going to test it with the postman to see if it is working for the second time, and then we are going to test the authentication from the mobile app. So I'll cut the video here because the Web API project takes a long time to start, and then I'll be back to test the application. So the Web API project has been started. So let me go to Visual Studio. I will go to the account controller, I think. Not the account controller, but going here, provider, to debug this. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and then I'm going to test it from the REST client first. So here we have the username, the correct password, the password. I'm going to send a post request to this URL here and see if it works. So send. So as you can see, we hit this breakpoint, so the code is working perfectly. So if we debug it, so it will return here. It will check if the user is null, and then as you can see here, it returns the token. So our Web API project is working perfectly. So let's go ahead and test it from our from our mobile application. Let me just check if our the base URL is correct or not. So not from here. Let's go to the login service. 25753. 25753. So okay. So let me check it. So I'm going to enter invalid credential, and I hope that it will work. So I will type anything here. So as you can see, so we can hit the our action controller, or our method that will check if the user exists from our mobile app. So we hit this point here. So if I click on continue, as you can see, invalid credentials. So I will change the duration of the toast because I want you to see it clearly. So I have to go to login. I'm gonna change it to 4 seconds. So you don't need to restart the application because it refreshes itself and it auto reloads. So here I'm going to type again some invalid credential and hit OK. And as you can see, please verify your credential because we have entered invalid credential. Now I'm going to type the valid credential. So my name and the valid password is 1 2 3 4 go. So continue. Let's just wait for it. Okay, so I checked the error. So there was an error inside my simple authorization server provider class inside my backend project. So I write it was sorry, it was written with only one C here. So make sure to add two C. So access with two C's, access control allow origin. So make sure that is written this way, because any error here will break your application and it will not work. So this was the error that raised that error that we have seen in the console a little bit early. So make sure that is written this way. So now I'm going to, so this file is already saved. So I'm going to open my my mobile app. So type the valid credential 1234 go, and if I hit authentication, as you can see, I am redirected to welcome page without the back arrow. So I removed it, and I showed you how to remove it. And as you can see, so this is our token. It is looked to our console. So this token must be stored inside your phone internal storage, inside a SQLite storage, or you can use Firebase to store it. And every time you are requesting the server, which is our Web API project, every time you are making any request to get some resources from the server, you must put this token in the header of your request, so the server can grant you those resources. If this token is not included in your request, the server will respond with a forbidden error, and you will not be able to access any resource on the server. So as I told you, you can store this token inside your phone internal storage using SQLite or whatever. You can store it in the cloud using the Firebase. So I think Firebase will be the best option. So that's all for this tutorial. I think it is very long tutorial, but I think that you're gonna like it, because it's because it's worth it and it's very helpful. Many project works with Web API as backend project, and in the front they use the Ionic and Angular. So I hope that you like this tutorial, and I hope that you will find it helpful, and see you in another tutorial. Bye bye.